رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين المصطفى حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا غريب كربلاء، رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا والآخرة. أما بعد، يقول الله في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ويسألونك عن الروح قل الروح من أمر ربي. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have entered our fifth night of discussions on decrypting the universe around us and understanding reality not through our conditioned human eyes, rather through Allah's divine eyes. Tonight, inshallah, we will be talking about the Ruh and Nur. At the outset, I recited an ayah and I said, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. So what is the Ruh? The Ruh, as the modern generation would call it, is consciousness or awareness or being in the moment. This self-awareness is what we would call essentially the Ruh. You see, when you are asked, where are you? You can either go and say, well, okay, I'm here, I'm at Akon, at the Ahl-ul-Bayt Center of Nevada, but that would be almost too simple of an answer, especially for the kinds of majalis that we've been having these last few nights, right? This is where your body is, sure. Where are you? You see, when you say, my thoughts on the matter are, well, those thoughts belong to somebody. When you say that this is my hand, my thoughts, my feet, my eyes, you know that there is a me that's not just the body. And most people will just write it off to being some kind of experience behind the eyes, inside the head, right? And when people ask, well, where are you? They'll go and say, okay, well, I'm up here, right? And this is probably what maybe some psychologists would also go and say, that this is all happening in your head. And we don't disagree with them. But we're also trying to figure out about the ruh. So the ruh, is it just here in our head? Is it here in our chests? Well, I know that the qalb is here in my chest, but something else is also happening besides the qalb, which is called the ruh. This me that owns all of these faculties, this is what actually sees through the eyes, hears through the ears. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as the brother beautifully recited tonight, فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا, what is doing the سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا? Of course, it's the insan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said at the beginning of the ayah. Fine, that's fine. But the correct answer would be that it is the ruh that is doing the seeing through the eyes, through the ears. In other words, through the mind. And tonight we're not going to be talking about the mind. That inshallah will be coming up in one of the upcoming nights. Tonight, however, we will be talking about your actual self, the ruh. So when they started to ask, and this is Bani Israel coming up to Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. They came to him with three questions. Number one, who are these? And look at how cheekily and cunningly they asked the questions too. There were some youth. They went to sleep. What happened to them? Now, of course, we, having read the Quran, know which ones they're talking about, but they're trying to see, is this a real messenger or not? Number two, there was a king. He traveled to east, he traveled to west. What's his story? Number three, tell us about the ruh. And so the Meccans went to Yathrib and they asked, you guys have had experience with the prophets before. What should we ask? So they asked these questions on behalf of Bani Israel, on behalf of Yahud. Okay, so now they come and they're expecting answers for the first two, according to Bani Israel. And for the third one, for the ruh, they said if he gives you a long answer, he's a false prophet. If he says you don't know much about it and he leaves the topic over there, he's a true prophet. Two of the answers are found in Surah Al-Kahf. One of the answers is found in the surah right before it, Surah Al-Isra. In Surah Al-Isra, you find the ayah that I read at the outset. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. And it goes and finishes off the ayah by saying that you haven't been given much knowledge regarding it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a clue over here when He says that it is from the command of my master. Amr is command. Question. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Insan, فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا, He said seeing and hearing. Actually in the reverse order, He said hearing and seeing. He didn't say that He gave you eyes and ears. So may Allah give everyone in this jama'ah a very long life in the ita'ah of Allah and the Ahl-ul-Bayt, and give you long lives that make Him happy in His obedience. Ameen, inshallah. So when you do experience death, because that is a certainty, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةِ الْمَوْتِ, your eyes and ears are still intact in the grave, right? But can you see and hear? No. What was subtracted from your body? The ruh. So it is the ruh that has these faculties of Sami'an Basira. Last night we said that we were going to stop calling it the matrix and the simulation, and that we said we were going to, actually that was probably 2 nights ago. Tells you how good I am at keeping all of this in line. To me, this is all one big topic, and I'm just compartmentalizing it so that it doesn't get too burdensome and weary. But so when we said that we would be calling this khalq and amr, alim al-ghaybi wa shahada, we said that these realms we can equate to a headset, a virtual reality headset, an Apple Vision Pro, a Facebook, whatever, I think it's called a Meta, whatever, right? Inshallah, when they improve, then I can also remember their name. I was much more impressed with the Apple. When you go and take this off, when you take off those green tinted glasses, the orange tinted glasses, now you can start to see reality more clearly. Your ruh is actually you. It is wearing a suit. It is wearing a virtual headset. It is wearing a mindset called the mind. Mind is perception. Well, how do you perceive things? What are your inputs? Right? I'm talking in computer language now, right? I'm trying, like how Allah does in the Quran, right? يُفَصِّلُ الْآيَاتِ, right? He goes and distinguishes how he goes and explains the ayat, so it catches your attention, and now, one way or another, you start to resonate. What are your inputs? سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. That is your input. That is your mind. That is the headset. The headset is being worn by what, brothers and sisters? It's being worn by, who can tell me who is paying attention? Maybe one of the youths over here. By the ruh, yeah. It wasn't one of the ones sitting over here, but it's okay. I'll take it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsan. So now the ruh is wearing the mind. It is wearing this virtual reality headset. It is wearing these glasses that are green, that are rose colored, that are orange, and it's seeing what it's been conditioned to see, which is alim al-khalq, alim al-shahada. As soon as you start to take that off, can you really take it off? We said that enlightenment isn't that you're going to be sitting for hours and hours going om. It's like a joke that once you start to get it, now you start to change your perspective. You don't see things in alim al-khalq just for what they are. You see it as an illusion. You see it as it's there, but there's a deeper reality behind it. So now you're trying to see things through the lens of a purified ruh and without the mind. You realize that the mind is there. You don't want to leave dunya. Remember what we said, you want to take that middle path. You don't want to go on the path of غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. You want to go on صِرَاطَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ, which is, even according to Sunni Muslims, Al-Hakim Al-Hanafi Al-Hasakani, that صِرَاطَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتُ عَلَيْهِمْ is صِرَاطُ Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Great, so now that we've got that established, let's go a step further. We have proof that we can't see everything in this dunya, even from the things that are physical. How many of you remember, and I mean this came up for me in physics, this came up for me in astronomy, that we humans are only able to see a certain spectrum within the available light spectrum, right? You are able to see around approximately, and I may be wrong, so don't, take this to the bank, but approximately 380 nanometers to 700 nanometers. And we call this Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Ahsantum. Inshallah, may Allah reward you for violet. But there's so much on this light spectrum that you and I can't see. What else can't we see? We can't see ultraviolet. We can't see infrared. We can't see many things on this spectrum. We can't hear things that other animals can hear. Things that hawks can see, we can't. Things that dogs and wolves and predators can hear, we can't hear. So we know that there are things that are outside of our sami'an basira, but they're there. So we have full iman as soon as science says something. But if Allah says something, then we're like, okay, yeah, it must mean something, I just don't know what it means. No, what about it means that there's a layer of reality that you're not perceiving right now, and you need to start to tune your radio frequency to that channel, to the channel of the ruh. Well, how do you start to understand things better over there? Let's go to the next ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. And we'll come back to this ayah again tomorrow night, because this has a double meaning. Both of the ayahs of the ruh have a meaning in this lecture as well as tomorrow night's lecture, and I'll cover tonight's lecture only tonight. Okay? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا. So we already have clue number one repeated in this ayah, that the ruh is from what? The command of Allah. ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولا I'm sorry, I lost it. ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم. So this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have revealed the ruh unto you who? Rasulullah. And it is from our command. مَا كُنْتَ تَدْرِي مَا الْكِتَابُ وَلَا الْإِيمَانُ. You were not able to know what is the book, nor what is belief. And what have we been talking about? That you need to have belief in not just the shahada. You already have complete yaqeen on that. But at least start to have yaqeen, muqinun, like Ibrahim, on the ghaib. مَا الْكِتَابُ وَلَا الْإِيمَانُ وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا. But we made it as a nur. Right? نَهْدِي بِهِ مَن نَشَاء. That we will guide whoever we want using this. Once you have nur, what does nur do in the physical world? Well, the opposite we know is darkness. Conveniently, half of the hall in front of me is in darkness, half of it is in nur. Inshallah, all of you are enlightened though. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A second louder one. Once you have nur added onto your equation, you can start to see better. Do we have an ayah that says this? Yes. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 17. مثلهم كالذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم. بنوره؟ بنور كل or بنورهم؟ بنورهم. ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون صم بكم عمي فهم لا يرجعون. Who is this one who lit up the fire? مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا. Who is this one person who lit the fire initially? فلما أضاءت ما حوله. They say that this one who lit the fire initially was Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And when his nur that he brought to humanity, which is his own nur as well as the nur of the kitab, lit up everything around them. Who is he talking about over here? مثلهم, the munafiqeen. He took away their nur so that they couldn't see anymore. وَتَرَكُهُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. So that they couldn't even see around them. Once you don't have nur around you, what's the next method? He says, or like the one when there's lightning. Again, light. And the lightning lights up things around them, they start to walk. As soon as it becomes dark, they stand still because they can't see anything around them. They don't know if they're at the edge of a cliff or if they have room to go and walk around. Right? This is the amthal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala نَضْرِبُ لِلنَّاسِ. Right? لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. So that you can finally start to remember. When Rasulullah comes with this light, it's supposed to go and make everything clear around you. This is why the word is used, mubin. Mubin doesn't just mean clear. Mubin means it clarifies everything around. Surah Yusuf, Alif Lam Ra, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. I said ذَلِكَ. That's Surah Al-Baqarah. I took you guys in the wrong direction. Alif Lam Ra, تِلْكَ آيَاتُ الْكِتَابِ الْمُبِينَ. These are the ayat. These are the signs. What does a sign do? It takes you back to Allah. تِلْكَ آيَاتُ الْكِتَابِ الْمُبِينَ. Not only is it clear, once you go and use this as your lens, it clarifies everything around you. It is one of the nur. Interestingly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never uses nur in the plural. He never says anwar. I know we have a book called Biharul Anwar, but inshallah I'll come back to tomorrow night. Who are the Anwar? I think we all know in this jama'ah, but just for the YouTube audience, it's Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Salawatullah wa alayhi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never uses nur. He says dhulumat, plural, and he says nur, wahid, mufrad. Right? What is that last ayah of Ayatul Kursi? الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. So the nur should be enlightening everything around me so that I can see alim al-ghayb within the shahada, so that I can see alim al-amr within the khalq. One of the things that unfortunately yesterday I became too carried away with, and I didn't even get to my example, was now that we become command-centric, everything you have to view as a command. The mu'min doesn't just wake up and think, what is Allah going to do through me today? Everything is a creation of Allah. We said that Allah creates us and our acts, right? But Quran also comes and says that Allah creates the situations for us. That He is the one who makes us cry and laugh, right? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a happy situation, what is my command from Allah here? What is my command from Allah when I'm in a sad situation? When I'm here in a majlis, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would like me to laugh or cry? Cry. When I'm at a mawlid, He wants me to laugh. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates the scenario within me to be hungry, He's testing my qalb. That is He going to turn towards dunya or is He going to turn towards me? When Musa alayhi salam, remember what we said, when he was at the opening of the sea, says, Kalla inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. He says, okay, good. Use the asa, fadrib bi'asaka al-bahr. Right? Open the sea with your staff. But when he's on the other side, it says, watruk al-bahra rahwan. Right? It says, stop using your stick to try to close it. I am the musabbib al-asbab. You trusted the staff, not me. If my qalb turns to the food, I towards the asbab or towards musabbib al-asbab? I turn towards asbab. When I'm thirsty, do I turn towards this? Or do I say, Ya Allah, you quench my thirst? Do I turn towards medicine when I'm sick? Or وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ Allah. Allahu Akbar. Now when my mindset turns into this, my ruh starts to get more nur. And I can start to train it a little bit more. Because now I see that whatever the hal is, exactly as Imam Ali alayhi salam says, مَا رَأَيْتُ شَيْئًا إِلَّا وَرَأَ اللَّهُ قَبْلَهُ وَبَعْدَهُ وَمَعَهُ. I didn't look at anything unless I saw Allah before it, after it, and during it. Now anything and everything, if I'm playing with my kids, what does Allah want from me in this scenario? He wants me to be a good father. He wants me to play with them. He wants me to imprint good memories with them. When I'm hungry, I turn to Allah. Ya Allah, you created this hal, you satisfy this hal. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Not bi dhikr ta'am and the biryani and the I don't know what else, right? Bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. I know we have beautiful cooks over here. I was telling Brother Muhammad, I don't know what's up with this center, but mashallah, every single night you guys keep on outdoing yourselves with the potluck. So as soon as we're done over here with the latmiya, as soon as we're done with the ziyara and everything, you guys are all going to forget what the lecture was. You guys come and say, mashallah, Maulana, what a nice lecture. You guys forget Allah, forget everything. You go straight towards the food, right? But as long as you can remember Allah in those moments, then I've done my job. You know how proud Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And He says to His angels, look at my ibad. They're shopping right now. And shopping is such a big veil. Because now you have multiplicity everywhere instead of unity. What was I showing you guys the other day? I'm not going to turn off my iPhone again, but just remember what I did the other night. I showed you a black screen. This one isn't a completely black screen, right? Just ignore that. But that's the reality. The broadcast, whatever the images are the veils. They're the distractions. If while you're shopping you can remember Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, these two tasbihs, wow, what a big reward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for you in the riwayat. He says, if while you're in the souk, you can remember these two, Subhanallah and Allahu Akbar, amazing, amazing rewards await for you. Why? Because you are saying, Subhanallah, Allah is greater than this. Greater than what? Than my need for any of these. Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater than anything. And subhanAllah, I know we have brothers as well as sisters who as soon as they go into shopping, إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانَ Ikhwan al-Shayateen. They start to go and say the credit card goes here inshallah and over here and over here. I need to have this and that. And they forget Allah entirely. If you can remember Allah over here, then you don't become a mubaddir. And Allah doesn't count you amongst Ikhwan al-Shayateen. If we take these things as not just things to laugh at, oh yeah, well, I mean, Allah doesn't count me as Shayateen just in case I, put a few extra things in my cart in Amazon or Walmart or whatever, Costco. Allahumma wa ma adraka mal Costco, right? Over there, it's psychological warfare on you because every single thing is a maze. And you are the mouse. And everything is a dopamine hit for your little mouse brain. Buy this, buy this, buy this. But what can you do to go and get out of this little trap? Subhanallah and Allahu Akbar. Remember Allah. And you'll remember, what does Allah want me to do? Does He want me during Shahr Ramadan when I'm supposed to be remember Him, or loading up my cart? Yeah, I'll eat those chips inshallah once iftar comes. I'll eat this potato chips. I'll eat this biryani and the samosas over here and just everything inshallah. I'll eat it all. And then you come to the iftar table, you eat one thing. Now you can't eat anything else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is proud of you when you do that in Shahr Ramadan? La. Right? Every single thing, what did we say yesterday at the end of the lecture? Everything is a tool for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put His hooks into you and inshallah grab you back towards Him. Right? كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. And then what does the ayah end with? لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. لَعَلَّهُمْ. Inshallah, hopefully they are guided. This is a boot camp, and we come out, instead of, وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا عَلَى مَا هَدَاهُمْ, right? We come and say, Allahu Akbar, I'm getting my graduation certificate for this 30-day boot camp. Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Honey, what did you cook? Right? Where are we going today? Who's got the good feasts and everything? Allah is out the window, asbab are back in. Shaitan is like, thank you for, releasing me from the prison. And your inner shayateen are like, thank you for letting me out too. I was suffocating over here. Suffocate them and let them die. Let Allah and His Rasul live. Inshallah, by the end of this, I'll come back to this hadith, inshallah. But if not, because I'm very forgetful, what does Rasulullah say? He says, I am the outer prophet and I came to wake up the inner prophet. But how are you supposed to do that if you don't have enough nur? فَلَمَّا أَضَاءَتْ مَا حَوْلَهُمْ. Did He take away your nur as well? Inshallah, no. So the nur, right, is how we're going to see more and more and more in not only dunya, but also akhirah. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in one of the two favorite surahs that we have? This one is Surah Al-Hadid. In Surah Al-Hadid, we have, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Actually, let me bring this up. So while I do, Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. يوم ترى المؤمنين والمؤمنات يسعى نورهم بين أيديهم وأيمانهم بشراكم اليوم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. يوم ترى المؤمنين والمؤمنات. For those of you who would like to follow along, this is Surah 57, ayah number 12. يوم ترى المؤمنين والمؤمنات يسعى نورهم بين أيديهم وبأيمانهم. Their right hands. What is this? بين أيديهم. This is practically their chests. وبأيمانهم. This is their right hands. What is this symbolic of? بين أيديهم is chests. So what's in your chests? Iman. And aymanihim is, iman is in the qalb, right? So you're not too far off. And the aymanihim is, your right hands is your good deeds. So amal al-salihat and iman. This is going to be transformed into nur on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Let's read a little bit further. يَوْمَ يَقُولُ الْمُنَافِقُونَ وَالْمُنَافِقَاتُ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا انظُرُونَا نَقْتَبِسْ مِن نُورِكُمْ. Wait up for us so that we can also use a little bit of your nur. قِيلَ ارْجِعُوا وَرَاءَكُمْ فَالْتَمِسُوا نُورًا. Go back. Why? This is in the other series that I already did, in the Dakhlan Barzakh series. But their heads are already turned, like in Surah An-Nisa. Their heads are turned because their focus is still on dunya. as it was over here, not on the akhirah. So they're like, yeah, you have your focus over there on dunya, go back to dunya. Get your nur from over there. You're not going to use any of our nur. So nur in akhirah as well is lighting the way. Lighting the way where? On the sirat. You know that sirat that's razor sharp and hair thin? It is covered in absolute darkness. And they say, I heard this very recently, that it is 500 years going up, 500 years like this, and 500 years like this. How are you going to get it through without nur to illuminate your way? Where are you going to get your nur from? It transforms over there, but it's bayna aydihim wa bi aymanihim. And I already decrypted that for you. It's your iman. It's your amal salihat. What are we working on right now in this lecture series? Iman. What do you start to work on outside of this lecture series? Your amal salihat. Instead of focusing on the asbab and focusing on your job, focusing on this and that and whatever, focus on the a'mal that the Prophet and his Ahl-ul-Bayt taught you, and you can win dunya and the akhirah. That's the secret. That's the enlightenment. That's what's going to help you here and in the akhirah. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So now, we also see this even in the physical world. In quantum physics, we see, and many of you have probably come across this example, known as the double slit experiment. How many of you have heard that by a show of hands? Yes, a few of you. The double slit experiment is when physicists, and you can go and look this up on YouTube, not right now, keep your phones in your pockets, inshallah. No distractions right now. You focus on the one, not on the multiplicity, inshallah, right? When you look this up though, there's a monochromatic laser, meaning one color, right? And they're shooting this at basically a metal board, let's say, right? And they're shooting it at the metal board, and they see that it's hitting in a pattern, in 9 separate, bars. And they say that this is happening because light is coming out as a wave. And so the wave comes and interacts with the board in 9 separate places. Okay, no problem. Now they're like, you know what, we're going to be a little bit smart. Let's cover up most of the laser and only shoot out 1 photon at a time, because light is also a particle. It's called photons. So they shoot out 1 photon at a time. Now on the metal board, it doesn't come as 9 as a pattern. It comes as 2. And they're looking at it. They're like, why? Why did they do that? So they're like, let's go and introduce a second board in the middle. And we'll go and put 2 slits. This is why it's called the double slit experiment. Let's go and shoot the light and see how it does. When they weren't looking, it came out as a pattern of the wave, basically. When they were looking, it came out as a particle. When they put a camera over there, it was a particle. When they're like, okay, let's try to trick the light, and let's just unplug the camera. Okay, Mr. Light, we're watching you, but it wasn't watching. It went back into a wave. So they were like, and by the way, if any of you are in quantum physics, you know better than I do, but for the rest of us, if you can figure this out, there's a Nobel Prize waiting for you, because they can't figure this out. If you can figure out why light behaves as a particle when there is an observer, when there is a shahid, and when there's no shahid, when there's no observer, it performs as a wave. And this is why they say light is both a particle and a wave. So it's like Schrodinger's cat, where both realities, right? Schrodinger's cat is in the box. Schrodinger's cat is both alive and dead at the same time. It's in a superposition. As soon as you open up the box, now it either is alive or dead. You collapse the reality so that it chooses one. What chose that? What made it collapse the reality? The observer. Interesting. So now we understand through light, through this particle experiment, that when there's an observer, it collapses to one reality. And you have been told in the Quran, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. Everything in this universe is perception. It's not a coincidence, brothers and sisters, that the entire universe presents itself as sights, smells, tastes, textures, touches, and sounds, the 5 senses. Why? Because that's all we have to understand the universe. Just like that spectrum of light, you can't see infrared and ultraviolet. What else are you going to see besides those 5 senses? When you start to understand that your perception is creating the world around you, you can start to understand Imam Ali alayhi salam when he says, "Man arafa nafsah, faqad arafa rabbah." When you are creating this reality around you, light is collapsing on the reality based on your ruh. It's not you who's choosing this reality. Your ruh is from the amr of Allah. It has a little bit of power given to it by Allah. You can choose the reality that you have presenting in front of you. You have that power. When you focus your ruh in one direction, you can create wonders. This is what we were talking about, the shakila. You can either go and become a scholar. You can become an engineer. You can go and become a doctor. You can go and become whatever you want. قُلْ كُلٌّ يَعْمَلُ عَلَى شَاكِلَتِهِ. Everyone can go and work based on what they are good at. When your ruh is tuned like this with the ruh, you become the picker of your reality. And this is why مَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن نَبْرَأَهَا. You choose which book you're going to go and step into. Allah will go and instantiate that. Look how much power Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you. He's basically given you the وَالْقَلَمِ وَمَا يَسْتُرُونَ. Noon وَالْقَلَمِ وَمَا يَسْتُرُونَ. He's given you the ability to go and write your own story. Hur bin Yazid can go and choose his own story at the end, right? No matter how hard that cement has hardened, Umar bin Sa'ad is still in control of his own destiny, right? He can still choose to come to Abu Abdullah. But what distracts him? Mulkar Ray. He can't get over that. For the life of him, he can't get over that. And so he becomes khusran ad-dunya wal-akhirah. He loses everything. He can't even get it in dunya, and he definitely doesn't get anything in akhirah. This is probably the hardest part of tonight's lecture, but inshallah everyone can understand it. That through quantum physics we can also understand our religion. That we are the pickers of our destiny. That when you go and focus your perception, reality is there. We'll go into this more tomorrow, but Imam Ali alayhi salam says, "An-nasu niyam." Mankind is sleeping. فَإِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبِهُوا. People are sleeping. Afwan? Intabahu. Afwan. When they are sleeping, how are they going to wake up when they die? What does Rasulullah say? He says, "Mutu qabla an tamutu." Die before you die. Kill what over here? Kill the senses. Realize the alim al-ghayb that is actually happening around you. See things through Allah's eyes, not through the conditioning. Otherwise, and we'll come to this in the final lecture, there's a very scary hadith that our brothers in Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah have that says, whoever doesn't see Jannah over here will not see Jannah over there. From Rasulullah, they quote this. It might be in our sources, it might not be. But the reality is the same. If you don't wake up here, موتوا قبل أن تموتوا, right? الناس نيام فإذا ماتوا انتبهوا. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but you have the veil still over here. So when you look at the universe, what do you see? You see whatever your ruh has in front of it as in engineering we would call this the resistor. When electricity is coming through the circuit, there's a resistor and it translates a filtered version, a lesser form of electricity. The current doesn't come out. When you are in akhirah, فَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ الْغِطَاءَكَ, right? فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيد. If you can go and see that without the ghita, now you can start to see things clearly. Am I saying anything different from what I've said in the past few nights? I'm just going a little bit more in depth. But inshallah no one's becoming confused. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All of this is a reflection of your ruh. And so whatever you see is your master. If you look out into the world and all you see is business opportunities, then all you'll see is, wow, I could go and oh my God, I could go and rule the world. I could go and colonize the moon. I could go and, think about it, bro. We could go and get the gases from Jupiter. We would make a killing. Bro, who's going to Jupiter, right? Of course, Elon Musk is thinking about Mars. Because once you have so much over here, look at Jeff Bezos too, right? He has Blue Origin. He wants to go out into space. He wants to colonize space. They start thinking about outside. Once you start to see the world according to this shakila, all you see is business. When you're a religious person, when you have the malakuti perspective, وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِيَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. All you see is the qudra of Allah. Allah is what? Which name did we say yesterday? Al-Qadir. He is Qadir and Yurzaq, and He doesn't need anybody else. He is also As-Samad. When you see everything through that lens, you remember who your Rabb is. In Alim al-Arwah, we were asked, Alastu bi Rabbikum? Qalu Bala. In the grave, we will be asked by Munkar and Nakir, Man Rabbuk? Who is your master? He doesn't say who, Man Ilahuk. That's an easy answer. But who's your master? Well, who did your ruh see as the master? If your ruh saw only business everywhere, hatta even once you had a living, you went and started to see other innocent human beings as people to go and exploit, like the Monsantos of the world, the GMOs, all of these people who go and just, when those TikTok videos that said, look at all of the cereals. They're all owned by one or two companies. It's a monopoly. And none of it is healthy for you. All these artificial food dyes and this and that. When all you see is just people who can be your next dollar, then what is your Rabb? Coming back to that, from that hadith of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Man arafa nafsuh, faqad arafa rabbuh. Now he understands himself that he's a greedy. All he sees is that little emoji with the dollar signs and the tongue with the dollar bill. Now he knows who his Rabb is. When Bahlul is asked, what are you sitting on? He says, I'm sitting on your God. What does he say? He said, I'm sitting on your God. Harun Rashid's his soldiers go and chase him away, and then when they go and look underneath the carpet, they see a treasure chest with dinars and dirhams. They're like, oh, we see what he was saying. Because Imam Hussein said what? An-nasu abidud dunya. Everything clicks now. Well, inshallah it clicks. It clicks for me. But everything clicks. When all you see is this, then you arafa rabbuh. Right? And this is exactly who Munkar and Nakir, when they go and water your heart, and they're saying, let's see what you grew. What were the seeds that you planted in Hayat al-Dunya? Let's see what you grew. And now the only answers that you can even answer are what you actually worshipped in this life. Man Rabbuk? Al-Mal. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. I was supposed to say Allah. And now the Adhab al-Qabr begins. May Allah save us from that. So we see يعلمون ظاهر الحياة الدنيا وهم عن الآخرة غافلون. So now Nur helps you see the reality for what it is. So we now see in Surah Al-An'am, the other surah that we really love in this series, أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي فِي النَّاسِ كَمَنْ مَثَلَهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِّنْهَا كَذَلِكَ زُيِّنَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Is the one who we've given hidayah and we've given him nur so that he can walk amongst people and he knows where he's going. Like the one who is shrouded in darknesses. لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِّنْهَا. He's now going to be getting out of it anytime soon. كَذَلِكَ زُيِّنَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And similarly in Surah Al-Mulk, أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ أَهْدَى أَمَّنْ يَمْشِي سويا على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. So how can you, when all of reality is just a reflection of your ruh, how can you make progress when every single time you try to polish your mirror, you resist? Like with that engineering example, the resistor. Resistance is futile. What is the opposite of resistance, brothers and sisters? Submission. Submit to whatever Allah wants. What is your mindset? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. When that is truly your mindset and you mean it from the heart, that is enlightenment. And that's why, brothers and sisters, when we look at Surah Yusuf, that mushrikeen verse, what is the ayah right before it? And then we go into the musibah. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. When you have that basira and not basar, right? Sami'an basira. When you look at the ruh with that basira, everything starts to fall into place. And that is why, brothers and sisters, on the night of Ashura, we see a very interesting conversation between Habib ibn Mudahir and Burayr. We don't know what the conversation exactly was, but we see that Burayr, and this is okay, we see even that Salman and Abu Dhar were on different levels. Habib was 75 years old when he came to the day of Karbala. 75 years old. And look at the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he comes with. He comes and Burayr is very serious on Yawm al-Ashir. And Habib makes a joke. Burayr comes to Habib and he says, Habib, Shaykh al-Ansar, I wouldn't have imagined that in such a situation you would be joking. And Habib says, everyone in my tribe can attest that even when I joke about reality. What is the example he gives? Or that the scholars give? The mithal is like the joke that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave, where an old woman came up to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua that I can enter Jannah. And Rasulullah said, what? But old women don't get into Jannah. And upon hearing that, she starts crying. And he says, do you know why old women don't get into Jannah? She says, why, Ya Rasulullah? He says, because everyone who enters into Jannah is young. So when you enter, you will be made young again. And she starts to laugh. These are the kinds of jokes that the awliya of Allah, that the anbiya and mursaleen make. Habib makes a joke like this. And Burayr is like, this is not the time. We have 30 to 70,000, depending on which report you take, of the army of Yazid in front of us. We have to defend Abu Abdullah. And you're making jokes? This is not the time, Habib. Habib comes and says, no, Burayr, this is the time to go and make jokes. He says, what do you mean? He says, when you have the kind of ma'rifah of Allah that I have, you know that all of these things are created by Allah. And very soon, if we can just stay committed to this path, then in a few short hours, we will be meeting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. We will be seeing him at the Kawthar, and he will be giving us بِكَأْسٍ لَيًّا لَوِيًّا صَاغًا لَا شَرَابَ بَعْدَهُ. Right? We will be getting that cup, after which there will be no thirst after that. And we will be in Jannah without anything to worry about in this dunya afterwards. Look at that aqeedah that Habib has, Shaykh al-Ansar. And so on the night of Ashura, Habib is walking outside of the tent of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam when he overhears a conversation between Zainab al-Kubra and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And she asks him, Hussein, akhi, are you sure about these ashab? He says, what do you mean? And we don't know necessarily if this was before or after he had come and told them that I have never seen companions like this. Because remember, he saw the companions of Rasulullah. He saw the companions of Imam Ali. He saw the companions of his brother Imam al-Hasan. And he said, all of them betrayed. But I've never seen companions like this. His sister comes up to him with a question. Are you sure about these ashab? Habib happens to be walking by. He walks away and he brings some of the ashab of Imam al-Hussein to come. He says, oh, companions of Imam al-Hussein, rise. We have a duty. Look at what he says. We have a duty. He says, He sees what Allah wants from him at this time. What is his command? What is his wazifa? Like how we said earlier, when there's hunger, do you turn towards food or do you turn towards Allah? He turned towards Allah and he knows what he has to do. He rounds up the ashab and he says, we have to go and comfort that broken heart of the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Allahu Akbar. And what a daughter. That Zainab, in a few hours, how heartbroken will she be? And how much more will she have to see? Sahib al-Zaman and Imam Zain al-Abidin are asked the same question. What is the hardest part, Mawla? They ask him, was it when Abu Fadl Abbas died? He said, no. Was it when Akbar died? He says, that was hard on Ahl-ul-Bayt, but no. Was it when the Tifl al-Radi', when he was massacred, when he was slaughtered? Was that the hardest part? He says, that was hard too, but no. He says, Ya Mawla, what was the hardest part? He says, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. Our women didn't have any of the protectors. And even me, when Imam Zain al-Abidin says, when they had me, I was sick and I couldn't do anything. Imam Zain al-Abidin was shuja', he was tough. But he had such an illness that he couldn't do anything. What a situation to be put in when you could defend your family and you can't even do anything. Habib comes with the Ansar back to the tent and he says, Assalamu alayki ya bint Rasulillah. Says, I bid my greetings to you, O daughter of Rasulillah. Please don't have doubt on us. We are here. Each one of them starts to go and say, we would die thousands of times, 70 times, 100 times, 1,000 times in the way of Abu Abdullah Hussein. And if we could come back again and again, more and more, we would die again and again. But we are not going anywhere. We know that what we have to do, we understand that there is going to be spears and swords and arrows coming at us, and that they will behead us and they will burn our tents and they will take our women. We completely understand. Oh Zainab, we completely understand what is coming for us. So don't have doubt on us, because that hurts us. When you don't have that iman in us, we completely understand though. On the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein alayhi salam assigns him the left flank. We mentioned yesterday that Zuhair ibn Qayn was given the right flank. He gives Habib ibn Madahir the left flank. And when Hussein ibn Numayr tries to lead the army towards the tents from the back of Imam al-Hussein's army under the guidance of Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, la'natullah alayh, it is the army of Habib that actually goes into warfare. Zuhair tries to come out, but he was sent back because Habib had it under control. Habib comes against Hussein ibn Numayr. When the time of Dhuhr comes, this same Hussein ibn Numayr comes and says, look at these people, they try to pray. Do they think that it will be accepted from them? It will never be accepted from them. Habib comes and gives the response that, do you think that your prayers will be accepted and Al Muhammad's will not be? You are a donkey if you think this. He goes and prays behind Imam al-Hussein, and he meets Hussein ibn Numayr on the battlefield. And he goes and uses his sword to hit the horse of Hussein ibn Numayr. That horse rears its front two legs and kicks Hussein ibn Numayr off of his steed. And Hussein ibn Numayr, before he's killed by Habib, he is led away by the tribespeople of Banu Numayr. Hussein ibn Numayr retreats, and one of the enemies of Allah, la'natullah alayh, hits Habib ibn Madahir with a spear from the back. At this time, an unnamed enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and hits Habib ibn Madahir, a 75-year-old man, on the back of his head with a sword, and he falls from his horse. Another person hits him again with another sword, and that same unnamed man from Banu Tamim beheads Habib ibn Madahir. And this was such a hard death for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. This is one of the few companions that he came out walking towards the battlefield, and he says, I ask Allah to make my death and the death of my ashab like Habib ibn Madahir. Let him be the direct judge over these people. and judge over what they have done. Habib al-Madahir was also given some wadifas and wasiyas from Muslim ibn Awsaja, but we'll come to that tomorrow night when we commemorate Muslim ibn Awsaja. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters, with these tears. Inshallah, with the blessed ayah of the Quran, we will ask for our hajat, for ourselves and for me and my family and you and your family. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه. Louder, louder. أما يجيب لتعجيل الفرج. أما يجيب لشفاء المرضى. أما لقضاء الحوائج. أما يجيب. Oh Allah, we ask you by your holy, virtuous names, بسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأكرم, 10 times, Ya Allah, 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 Ya إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اكشف عنا سوء يا الله. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا، كفر عنا سيئاتنا، وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ولأرواح الأموات الجالسين والحاضرين والشهداء والعلماء نقرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات. آمين.